Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So, where we left off yesterday was I've actually switched over to my other lab system manager purely for the fact that it's got some licenses on it. So, pretty much the same place as we left off yesterday. The only difference is that we've got two session managers now in here, and I'm going to need to patch them at some point because it's a different lab system. But what we're going to concentrate today is installing the Avaya Communication Manager. So what we need to do is head over to the Avaya support website, look for, go to downloads for Communication Manager 8.1, and what we're going to want to do is we want to go to this one here, Avaya Communication 8.1 software. So if we just open that in a new tab, scroll down the bottom here, what we're going to do is we're going to be installing a simplex server. So we're going to be installing this one here, we're going to be downloading that, and then also any other feature packs that need to go with it, we're also going to be installing as well. So I'm just going to explain the difference between duplex and simplex. If we move this over here, so a simplex server would be, here is my CM, and inside my CM there will be a processor Ethernet. And what happens is say this is session manager, what it will do is it will have a link to the processor Ethernet using a signal group, and that could be TCP, TLS, and that'll go directly to the processor Ethernet. The same as well if I had some phones. So say these are all endpoints. H323 phones. And what they would do is they would also connect to the processor Ethernet like that. So that is a simplex CM. It's just one machine that runs, and you can have survivable servers and stuff like that connected to it. But it's just one communication manager, and it's known as simplex. Now, if we look at duplex, what we have is two CMs. So we have CM1, CM2, active standby, CM1, and CM2. They each have an IP address. So for argument's sake, we'll say 192.168.255.20, 192.168.255.21. These will each have a processor Ethernet as well, but the difference between the simplex is what we have between them is, so let's have a look at this. This is going to be our process Ethernet here. Process Ethernet here. So we'll just label this PE for the time being. This one PE. And then there's also another network interface inside CM. And that's what's known as the duplication link. Just make this a bit smaller. So this is duplication. And that also has its own IP address as well. So for example, we could say it's 10.255.255.254 and 10.255.255.253. These are going to be slash 30. And basically what that does, it's a link between these two machines here. And then what happens is the two CMs are actually connected together. Well, I say they're connected together. They actually share an IP address as like a virtual IP address or the alias IP address. And that could be 192.168.255.22, for example. And then this one is active, and this one is standby. So what happens is these actually run as one. One is active, one is standby. All of our telephones, we'll say these are telephones, H323. Will all point to this IP address here. And then session managers, SM1 and SM2 will also point to this IP address on their SIP trunk. So what happens is, in the event that this guy goes offline, this one then becomes active. And then when this guy is brought back online, this guy is still, so this one over here is still active, and this one becomes standby. And what happens with this duplication link is all of the translations, all of the configuration inside Communication Manager is replicated to this standby from the active one. If this guy was to go offline, this one would then become active. And the translations between the two of them are synchronized using this duplication link. So that's the difference between simplex and duplex, but we're not going to be worrying about this one. I thought I'll just give you an oversight on how the simplex one actually works and how the duplex is different from that. So if we go back to the Avaya support website, what we're going to want to do is download the simplex one and then get any of our feature packs that we're going to need to patch the communication manager and the security hotfixes and stuff like that, which we'll take a look at, probably make a second video on that. But if we head over to Solution Deployment Manager, if we go to Applications, so I've already downloaded this OVA and I already have it in my software library. What we need to do is just click on, I'm going to refresh this actually because I removed some of the old virtual machines from my lab yesterday, just to free up some space. So what we'll do is, once that's finished refreshing itself, which I think it has now, yes it has, go in here. What I'm going to do is we're going to install Communication Manager, which I already have the OVA for downloaded. So same as we did for the last machines, we'll download, we'll select the data store and make sure all this is populated. Select software library, and then what I'm going to do is we want to use CM Simplex, this one here. And again, we've got a flexi footprint on this as well. So it's basically telling us what type of server we're going to install in. So we can have a CM main, which is a small server supporting up to 1,000 users. We can have a survivable server, which is just a small survivable server. It's not like a cool server. Or we can have a main, which is a medium. And then we have these other ones here as well, which are large main or survivable. But because this is a lab system, we'll just go with the small one. So I'll select that. It does a resource check on my VMware host as well. And then what we'll do is just click next. Enter this information, so we'll call it lab CMO1. And if we just check my DNS server, what have we got on here? So actually we'll just call it CMO1. And I'm going to give it an IP address of 10.1.160, 24-bit subnet mask, 10.2.1.1. I'm not using IPv6 and I'm not using out-of-band management at all. And we'll just call it CMO1. I'm going to be using public NTP for this. And then enter your DNS server here. Now, my domain name is slightly different now because I'm using the proper lab system. So I'll put this in here. It's different to the last videos. One to enable the ASG, and then basically we can just add our customer login here, followed by our password. What I normally do is I normally set this password to be like a temporary password, because we're going to have to change it when we log in again anyway. And then down here, we'll just enable the root account as well, and we'll give this the password that we want it to be. This one doesn't require us to change it when we log in, but this CM privileged user, it does. So what I do is I normally set it with a temporary password, and then when it asks me to change it when I log in for the first time, then it will actually be the password that I mostly desire. And again, from here, same as the other machines we've deployed, we just need to select the correct network that's going to go on. Once we're all happy with this information, we just double check over it before we commit, and then we can simply just click on deploy, accept that, and then what should happen now is it will start deploying. So what I'll do is I'll stop the video, and then once it's deployed, we'll then take a look at how to configure it. Okay, so we're back. So Communication Manager is now deployed, and we can start configuring it up. So we can either do this from the VMware console, or what we can do is we can open up a PuTTY session. We can SSH to the IP of CM 160, and we can log in using our lab admin account and our password. Why are you not working? Sure, how disappointing. Wonder why that's not working. Just log in as root and just do a put the password in. Let's try that again. Lab admin and password. Oh, that's really annoying. Okay, so what we'll do, log back in as root. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to reboot this machine, and we'll see if that makes any difference. Hoping it will. Shouldn't take too long to reboot. Let's just go back into our system manager. Yep, that's all fine still. So let's go back here. Hopefully we can log in this time. It's really annoying when stuff like this happens. happened with my headset there. Right, so let's try this again. So lab admin and the password. Right, finally. Okay, so I don't know why it did that. Anyway, so what we can do now is we've logged in with lab admin. What we want to do is we want to create our admin account. You can do it from the web page. So if we were to go to 10 to 1.160, we could log in here. We could log in as our lab admin account. And we could do it from here. We could go to administration, server maintenance, and then down the bottom here where we have administrators accounts, we could enable our business partner login, dadmin. So business partner login, dadmin, and we could submit that. And we could put a password in here. However, it doesn't allow me to do it through here because I've used a complex password, which is why I prefer doing it through here. So what we have to do is you can do it through SSH or you can do it through the VMware console. Probably prefer it to do for SSH, to be honest. Now we've logged in, what we can do is we can do a CM user add admin, and that's created the account. Now we need to set the password for the account, so we do a CM password, type in the name of the account, and then it'll ask us to put a password in. Then we could also, well, we need to create another account as well for System Manager to be able to connect to CM. So what we'll do is we'll do a CM user add again, and then space super dash user, and then we'll just call it like sysman or something like that, which will give it like the prof18 user profile. So if we do a CM password now on sysman, we'll be able to set the password for that account. And that now means that we have a user account for System Manager, we have dadmin, and we have our lab admin account as well. So if we go back to Communication Manager, go into Administrators Accounts, you'll see in here that we now have the logins that we've selected. So what I like to start off doing, first of all, is I like to go to Server Role and just make sure that this is all fine. So yep, this is a small server, these are the server IDs, it's a main server, so that's fine. For the network configuration, and just check some stuff in here. I might need to put the DNS search domain in here, so what we'll do is we'll just put that in there. That's fine, I don't need to worry about any of that stuff. This can all stay as it is because that's correct, but we'll just go change. Give that a second for it to complete what it's doing. So there we are. So if we go back in here now, we can now see those are our network settings. The other thing I like to do as well is just we have to change the time zone because it will be stuck on Denver for some reason. So we change that to the appropriate time zone, apply that, and just check our NTP configuration as well to make sure NTP servers are in there, which they are. Well, that's a bit incorrect. So we'll just take that out. And just modify that. We could also put another one in there, like 1.pong.ntp.org, and just apply that. So that's done. So now what we can do is we can just verify the date and time of the server, which is correct, 1228. So we've got our administrator server account set up. What we need to do now is we need to go to System Manager, And we need to go to Security, Certificates and Authority. And then what we need to do is just make sure that we need to get the System Manager CA certificate. So if we go to CA Structure and CRLs, we can download the PEM file, and the PEM file is downloaded. So I've got the PEM file now. If I just minimize this and that, put the PEM file on here. So that's now in there. And then if we go back to System Manager, we need to create a certificate profile for it. So what we need to do is click on Add End Entity, and we'll call it CMO1. We'll give it a passphrase, and then this will be cmo1.voipboil.co.uk. And then the same for the subject alternative name. So we'll put that in there, and then we'll just give it the IP address 10.1.160. For Communication Manager, we need to change this to P12 file, and the rest of it can stay default. So what we do is just click on Add, and now that's been added. So we need to go to the public web now. Click on Create Key Store. Put our username in here as CMO1, and then the passphrase that we set on the entity profile just a second ago. And I'll select 496 bits and click on Enroll. So what that will do now is it will generate the certificate, which it has done. And it's there. So if you go over here now and just paste that on there. What we can do now is if we go back to the Communication Manager web page, click on Download Files, we need to upload these files into the Communication Manager. So if we go back to Downloads, and in here, we need to upload that, and we need to upload that as well. Click on Download, and let's put the files here. So once they're on there, what we need to do is go over to Trusted Certificates, click on Add, and then just put the name of the certificate that we uploaded just a second ago in here. And then we'll call it something like SMGRCA. We can tick these boxes as well, so that it can be used for these types of services. And then we'll just click on Add. It doesn't allow spaces in it, unfortunately. So I'll click on Add. So that's done there. And then what we need to do now is we go to Server and Application Certificates. What we're going to do from here is we're going to add in our P12 file that we recently uploaded, and we're going to need to provide the passphrase because it is a complete key store. So click on Open, and we should have some information here. So it's found the certificate, that's who it's issued to, issued by the System Manager CA. And again, we can just tick these boxes for what we want the certificate to be used for. And click on Add. And it's really important that NTP is correct as well on your CA, because if it isn't, then that can introduce all sorts of problems with certificates. But that's all done now. So what should happen now is you'll probably find that the web server on here might restart itself. If I just refresh it, might not have done it on this. Oh, there we go. So it's replaced a certificate with that one. So what we can do now is if we go over to System Manager and we go to Elements, where is it? Sorry, Services, Inventory, Manage Elements. What we can do in here is we can add our Communication Manager. So click on New and select Communication Manager. Give it a name, so CMO1, and then we can either use the host name or the IP address. So I'll put 10 to 1.160 in here. I don't need to worry about the alias IPv4 address, and then the login is the system manager login we set up earlier on, so sysman, and then followed by the password. And then we also want to enable notifications as well. The port can stay as 5022. We can add a description or a location in here if we wish, but it's mainly informational. And then we can set this up at a later date. So I normally select none and just click on commit. And that's it, our communication manager is in there. So what we have to do now is if we open up Site Administrator, we'll do is we'll click on, we'll add this in, new voice system. So CMO1 lab network connection, we'll select, put in the IP address here, 10 to 1.160. It's going to be 5022. And you can either have it log you in automatically or we can do manually each time. I'm going to select manually each time and I'm not going to worry about entering any of this information here. I'm not going to test it because there's a little bit more work I have to do. And we'll just click on finish. So if we go back to if we open up another SSH session, 10 to 1.160, and we'll log in as dadmin this time, followed by our dadmin password. What we'll do now is we'll type in autosat, and we should be asked to set a PIN number. So, well, not a PIN number, like a password. So we can set the password in here. And then what that will do is that will allow us into Communication Manager. If you're doing this from SSH, you might just want to select SUNT as the terminal type, and then that's allowed us into Communication Manager. So now we're inside. But what you'll notice is if I press F5, there's only a very small set of commands that we can have. So we can't actually really do anything. We can't do an add station or any of that sort of stuff. What we have to do now is we have to do a save translation. Even though there's nothing to save, we still have to do a save translations. And then what we need to do is type in reset system and then 4. What this will do is it will reset Communication Manager. So if we do a stat app now, it's telling us that Communication Manager is still up. If we do a stat app -C, then what it'll do is it'll keep refreshing itself. And as you can see, it's now beginning to become fully up. So we've got 55 out of 85 for Communication Manager up, still restarting itself, and now 85 is up. So we can just do a Control-C on that to return back to here. So what we should be able to do now is if we come in here, go to Advanced, Start Emulation, we should be able to put dadmin in here, followed by our password. Accept that. And here we go, we can put our PIN number in that we set just a second ago. Terminal emulation type is 4410. And what you'll be able to see is we can now have the command add station. So that is it. Communication Manager is installed. It is active. It's on the network. If we go back to our system manager, what we can do is go to synchronization, communication system, and we can just select this. What we can do is we can initialize it for In fact, it's actually doing it itself here. It's already doing it for me, so I don't need to worry about this. And if we click on here, what it's doing is it's synchronizing all of the translations. Even though there isn't anything in there, it still synchronizes all of the tables. So there will be some default values in like the AAR table and the ARS analysis and stuff like that. What it's doing is it's synchronizing all of that information. So we just have to wait for that to finish. So yeah, that is pretty much how you install Communication Manager. I'm going to stop the video there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another video explaining how to connect the session managers to Communication Manager, the application sequence, how to configure the dial plan parameters, the dial plan analysis, the ARS codes and stuff like that. So stay tuned for another video. If you guys liked this one, or you found it was informative or it was educational, then please give it a like, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and make sure you hit that subscribe button. Alright guys, enjoy.